Hello, welcome back. This is Gary Payne to Ask the Imam Show. Imam Musri, welcome back.
Thank you.
Appreciate you keep meeting me and take the time out of your busy schedule to meet with us and try to help us understand a few things.
My pleasure.
The other days we were talking the past one was about God, and you're saying that you believe the same God that Christians and Jews and believe in. But I know you explained to me about Allah and God, but is it the way we practice? It seems different. The way we worship is different. I don't. And the way I hear things, it doesn't seem like we're doing the same God, so to speak.
Well, the concept of God is a little bit different, what people mean by the word God. But do we believe as Muslims that we worship the same God, the God of Abraham? Yes, we do. So Muslims believe there is one creator for everything, one God for humanity. And that our God and the God for all people, Jews, Christians, and others who don't believe in God, is the same God, the same creator. And the personal name for God is Allah. And that's what confuses people, is that they think about the word Allah and they think, oh, this must be a different God. But Allah also in English or in all languages refers to the same one God, the God of Abraham. So in the Quran we see God is mentioned when talking about previous prophets, Noah, God created Adam, God created, all people, and the word used there is Allah, A-L-L-A-H.
So you're giving the impression basically that we're worshiping the same, just saying different names.
Yes. Now, some concepts, for example, if people think God refers to, say, if they believe Jesus is Son of God or Jesus is God, then we are talking about two different gods. We don't believe Jesus is God or Jesus Son of God. We believe God has no resemblance, no equal, no partner, no children, no parents, no beginning, no end. God is very unique. So God is not a human, does not look like human or any of the creation that we see around. God was there before the Big Bang, before the creation of the universe. God created the universe with the Big Bang. And human beings appeared very recently on Earth, and human beings are not very unique. There are many similarities between humans and animals of all kinds. So, but that's nothing to do with God. God is not the father of anyone, and he is not the child of anyone. So God is very unique. So any religion that wants to reduce God, the creator of the universe, to a human or human-like, we differ in the understanding of that God. But I believe most Christians and Jews, when they speak about God, they speak about an invisible being to us, all of us, about a merciful being, a very powerful being, a creator, a compassionate being. The details about that being, that's where we differ. But we all refer to our God, our Maker, as God or Allah. So that's where we are similar and where we're different.
I was going to say that I would personally say, going through my faith as a young teenage boy, as a man, I'm not going to say right or wrong, but I always would be confused when I was told that Jesus was praying to God, but Jesus was God. It was a little confusing for me on my part, because I'm thinking he's praying to himself when he's on the cross. How could he be praying to himself? He's at the right-hand side of God, where he's at the right-hand side of himself.
Yeah, so you notice that when Jesus was asked in the Gospels, what is the greatest commandment? He said, and you see it in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, that he said, the greatest commandment or the first commandment is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, right, all of us, our God, the Lord is one. And you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your might, with all your soul.
Sure.
Now, he included himself as one of the people who share the same one God, our God. And one of the scribes who asked the question, he said, "You're right, teacher. There is only He and there's no other but He." So Jesus did not think of himself as a God and did not say, "I am God." He could have said to them, "Look, I am your God, worship me."
Right.
Okay? But he didn't. He said, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one," which is similar to what you would see a rabbi or a minister say today. He would not claim deity, he would say, "Our God is one." So in that respect, we agree with Jews and Christians that we have the same God, but we differ with some people who insist on making Jesus as God or Son of God.
Well, I did some studying myself, and I do believe you told me earlier in before one of our interviews that you got a degree in theology yourself. So, where did this come from that Jesus is God? I would like to ask personally, because even myself, I struggled with that. It didn't make any sense to me on logic. I tried to use, 1 plus 1 it didn't add up.
Well, a lot of people throughout history tried to reduce God to something they can see, touch, feel, talk to. They have hard time dealing with the invisible God. Okay, so the Greek made many gods, and until today in Hinduism there are many gods that represent. People want someone to really look at and see, and when Jesus, peace be upon him, was supported by God with many miracles, people confused that with he must be God, because Jesus' miracle was to bring someone back to life after they die,
Lazarus.
raise the dead. Yes, so when they saw him doing that to Lazarus, they said, well, no one can do that except God. Okay? The one who did the action was God, not Jesus. Jesus was the one who requested that from God to bring this person back to life.
Right. Okay.
So Jesus does not himself possess the power to bring back someone to life. God does. But in order for God to say, I'm supporting this prophet, this messenger of mine, he can do miracles by my leave, healing the sick, raising the dead, making the shape of a bird and then it flies. Well, that's all done by God in order to, produce evidence that this is a great prophet.
I can live with that. And
so some people would say, if he raised the dead, he must be God. And say, but he didn't raise all the dead. He just did that to show that he is being supported by God.
No, I appreciate the insight on this. This is actually probably going to get an hour discussion just on this alone, to be honest with you, because I think there's a lot of confusion, not just myself, but a lot of people on this. If you don't mind, I noticed that we were really blessed, had a lot of good viewers, had a few questions from our first video, and I'd like to ask if it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
We have some people there, they're just asking a few things. Lady, I believe in Saudi, they were asking if you could tell us why the women have to lower their gaze when they look at people. There's a few questions, but this is just one of them.
Well, there is in Surah An-Nur in the Quran an instruction to both men and women how to behave in public.
Okay.
So if, say, a person is parading themselves and they are scantily clothed, that you should not be looking at them, staring at them. Okay, you as a believer, you should look down or you should look away. And during the Prophet's time, there was a young man who was staring at a beautiful woman passing by, and the Prophet turned his head. So you should, out of respect, turn your sight away. The instructions in Surah An-Nur that men and women should dress modestly. They should protect their, themselves from engaging in promiscuous activity, and which starts with looking at people and lusting after people.
Well, this makes sense. I can appreciate that. Well, we have more questions But Imam Mazri, I'm trying to keep these videos at a minimum. I'd like to meet you again, maybe follow up with more questions. If you have any comments, questions, please leave it at the end of the video. Definitely appreciate your time, and see you next week. God bless.